out to Baton Rouge to catch up with our good buddy, Brian Holland. Brian, first of all, let's just quickly revisit last week. There was a lot of talk about, going over to Nashville and obviously the drinking. You saw, if you saw the purple in the crowd, the ESPN did a great job, or ABC, I forgot the network that did a great job showing all the crowd shots. The LSU faithful really came out strong. High-scoring game, but unable to stop Diego Pavia and company late. What did you make of last week's performance and the way that they'll be able to fuel themselves going into this big matchup with the Aggies?
They really, really missed Whit Weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really just kind of the engine of that defense. And you can talk about Harold Perkins Jr., and he's going to get a lot of money to play on Sundays here in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that. But I thought Harold Perkins actually had one of his worst games ever. Sometimes he's just that good of an athlete that he can just run through people. He can, completely just collapse the pocket by himself. He can take over games. We saw that as a true freshman against Arkansas, certainly, and another game in there as well. So, I mean, he was one of the most fantastic freshmen that I've ever seen. And, we watched Devin White and some of these cats run around here at Baton Rouge who were really, really good. I thought he just either didn't trust his eyes or just over-trusted his athleticism to just get over that like it usually does. But there was a play against Ole Miss that ended up in a touchdown right before the half, and it was huge for momentum for the Rebels.
Right.
And he took, inside leverage and thought, oh, this Trinidad guy, he's in his first big game in the SEC.
Yeah.
I'm going to run through this running back. I can't believe they had a running back try and pick me up. He came inside, and Chambliss went outside, and it was an easy throw for a score. I saw that a couple times in Nashville on Saturday. So he is a freak, man. He's fun to watch, but he will chase people down. But I mean, even Diego Pavia, man, at one point didn't pull away, but he got away, and Harold Perkins Jr. couldn't close the gap, and he ran for another first down. So I think he was a little bit surprised that, hey, no, I have to take that upfield shoulder every single time, that I have to trust my eyes and my keys and make sure that I'm doing with my footwork what I can do to set up not just me, but my teammates as well. Because when you pop out of a gap and you play hero ball, the good ones can get you.
Absolutely. From the offensive perspective, there's been a lot of consternation and just a lot of angst about just how this offense has not been able to really kind of get on track in a way that we thought at the beginning of the season, given the fact that the only 4,000-yard thrower from a season ago was back in the fold this year. What did you make of the offense, and were there any positives that can be taken this week against Texas A&M's defense?
Look, I put this loss on the defense against Vanderbilt. They just did not play technique sound for every single play. And if you go and you look at the stats, guys, like LSU actually averaged more yards per play than Vanderbilt.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Vanderbilt had 18 more plays than you.
Right.
So your defense couldn't get off the field and help itself. And that's going to wear you down. I mean, it just is. LSU only had 49 plays. And it felt like Vandy had 17 play drive after 17 play drive.
Yeah.
And so I think Brian Kelly told us that before the fourth quarter, they only got the ball, 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
So, man, that's really going to rip the teeth out of your offense. I think that this was one of the best games that they ran the ball. And that's really been you talked about it, the consternation here in Baton Rouge is we're LSU. We can't just bully people at the line. We don't have the offensive line now for like a third straight year because Jaden Daniels covered up and all of the problems as we saw last year. Garrett Nussmeier and company could not run it, even with those 2 great NFL tackles that are now doing really well in the league. So it's interesting. I think they committed to the run, and it's looked better. And I think they got a little bit of a push. Not that Vanderbilt has some great defensive line. I think they're well disciplined. They do their job, and they make you go on the long drives. I was pretty shocked that LSU couldn't turn Vandy over a little bit more because usually long drives means chances for turnovers, really. You know what I mean? That you have to have explosive plays in college football or someone's going to make a mistake. So I think that they've started to fix a lot of the offense, and then all of a sudden your defense jumps out, and they talk about complementary football. That's exactly what that is.
Brian, this is now 2 road SEC losses. I mean, backs are obviously up against the wall now if you want to make the college football playoff. And with all of the hype and all of the talent entering this season, to have 2 losses at this point in the year, is it time to start having conversations about Brian Kelly?
Don't think so. I had them down as a 9-3 team that would backdoor their way into the playoffs. There's still a scenario for that, guys.
Yeah.
Like, think about this game, all right? Like, you got Alabama here in a couple weeks. LSU traditionally does not do well in T-Town, okay? So if you're starting to do the math, you have to have this one.
Yep.
And I'm not a big, like, hey, the script is going to tell us what happens. You know, like, there's some all-knowing being and refs throw games. I'm not the conspiracy theorist guy. But if you did have a college football script, how about this? The last 8 times LSU has played A&M, the home team has won. It's Saturday night in Death Valley.
Wow.
It's ABC. LSU hasn't had that marquee win just yet that they usually get right before they play Alabama. So I'm just saying things are lining up. Like, if you're listening to Baton Rouge Sports Radio and seeing some of the emails and the comments that we get on our social media, you would think Baton Rouge was collapsing into itself, right?
Yeah.
It's just been that week. We lost to Vanderbilt. How did that happen?
Yeah.
So it's all kind of, to me, it just feels like it. Like, I grew up in Houston, okay? My Oilers were ripped from me. So I grew up watching college football, not just in the state of Texas. I'll watch the SEC. I mean, Saturday was huge for me, right?
Right.
Those were my Super Bowls. But in Houston, it's pretty much, my dad went to the University of Houston, but it's pretty much 90% of the people there either root for A&M or you root for UT.
Right.
Okay, that's just the geography of the landscape there. So I've watched a lot of Texas A&M football games. I've seen them in a lot of big games.
I know where you're going with this.
I just don't trust them. I don't trust
Thank you, because that makes 2 of us.
And it's Saturday night in Death Valley. No matter what you hear on Baton Rouge Radio, people are going to show up to the tailgates. There's a party. I've already gotten some emails about some of the celebrities that are going to be in town and hosting their own tailgates. It's going to be at a fever pitch. This is the one. This is the one, and it just lines up. A&M, undefeated, and then they get to the meat of the schedule in October, November. What do? They usually fall flat. Now, I like Mike Elko, but it just feels like it's all lining up, guys.
Yeah, it does, and it's one of those weird games where, and every now and again you'll just do this as a sports fan, where you take you just strip the names off, and you just literally have the helmets, the shoulder pads, and the people that are filling those bodies on the field. And you put one in LSU's uniforms, and you put one in Texas A&M's unis, and it just feels like that kind of game. Like from a sensory standpoint, it just feels like the game that LSU said. And to your point, Brian, about Texas A&M, Patrick has been saying for the last 5 weeks that Texas A&M is going to find a way to lose a game they have number one, have no business losing, but then maybe find a way to lose another maybe 2 to 3 others, because that's just who Texas A&M is.
And finish 8-4.
And inevitable
for the bajillionth
8-4.
time in the last 10 years.
And so while I don't know if I see that, I do see a scenario where LSU is winning. So now take the players that are actually in this 2025 matchup. LSU's defense, as you said, coming off a really embarrassing, might be too strong of a word, but a performance they want back. And now they have yet another marquee quarterback coming back. How hungry will they be to prove we are more like the team you saw in the first 5 or 6 games than we were in the last one?
Yeah, we were talking to a defensive lineman, Ahmad Bro, and he was just saying, like, this was the lesson that we got from Pavia. You know what I mean? It's just been drilled into their head all week. They can't play tackle football, and it's been drilled into A&M's head that they're 7-0 for the first time since 1994. But you look at the players. You want to look at this actual matchup. You don't get beat by the teams that were 4 years ago.
Sure,
okay, like
sure.
I get that's the coach speak out there, but it's true mostly. But look, you look at how this is matching up. The strength of LSU's defense are those defensive backs. Most passes defended in the SEC. Monser, Delane, they can neutralize those wide receivers. Great talent. But Marcel Reed, not the best thrower of the football. So A&M makes its hay on the ground. And guess what? Baton Rouge native Le'Veon Moss is out for this game for Texas A&M. He was by far the monster in that running game.
Absolutely.
I mean, they have good running backs.
Right.
But he is the feature back, and he's not going to play. So I think that means a lot. Now, Weeks also most likely will not play. Let's see what the injury reports look like leading up to the game. He's going to try and put on the pads and give it a go. I'm not thinking that's going to happen, but if you can just keep that game in a box right there, and win it there with 7 or 8 guys there in the box, you're going to give yourself a chance on Saturday night in Death Valley.
For Garrett Nussmeier specifically, what do you want to see from him as he leads this offense against Texas A&M's defense? We've seen different versions of him. Seen him a little bit more conservative towards the beginning of the year, letting it rip here late. What do you think that he will need? What maybe if you have a stat line, what will a stat line read? Or just from an execution standpoint, what do you expect from him Saturday night?
Yeah, I just want him to not take the candy. Don't take the bait.
Mm-hmm.
I know he likes to rip it and go for it a lot. He knows the spots where he can do that. A&M has a really good defense, but early in the ballgame, you need to convince the defense that you're willing to check it down, and that's where you get some of the windows to maybe open up later. Trust his eyes. He's been through this more than anyone else in the country. He's a coach's kid. He is a film savant. So trust the preparation, trust your guys to go out when you check it down to go make a play for you, and then trust the times that you can take a chance, because he knows.
Yeah,
he knows the risk reward value. And if you're talking about a big game in this stage, this scenario,
mm-hmm.
There are few other quarterbacks around the country that I would trust more than Garrett Nussmeier.
Absolutely. Brian, I know you have other obligations to tend to. Thank you so much for your time here on Southeast Sports Plus. Looking forward to a great one there in Death Valley.
Cannot wait, fellas. Thanks.